Yo, what's happening, guys? Hope everyone's having a good morning. I wanted to do a quick update because I was looking at something on USDT dominance, and I just want to show you guys. We'll have a look at a few tokens, and then we'll see what we have for the rest of the day. So let's get straight into it. So obviously, guys, another red day in the market throughout this whole week. Obviously, structurally, everything is still bearish. We did speak about that yesterday, but I do want to speak about what actually happened last night, right? USDT dominance hit this massive trend line that's been going on since 2023 July, right? So you can see how we acted as support, then resistance the whole time over here, even this over here, right? So every single time price taps this level here for USDT dominance, we do see some type of reaction to the downside, okay? So this is obviously bullish in terms of a crypto, right? Because if USDT dominance were to go down, price on crypto will go up, okay? So in terms of looking at this, obviously, we don't have much right now. It's just coming to this level. So the whole thing is, do we break out of the zone or do we get rejected, okay? To be honest with you, there's a higher probability of us getting rejected from the zone just because of looking at previous data, right? Whenever we do tap the zone, we do get rejected. So I'm going to look at potential long setups within from looking at right now, because the thing is, if we were to get rejected from the zone, we have so much time to hold this setup, right? Let's just say we get rejected, and every time we do get rejected from the zone, this dumped all the way back down to this green support line, 30%, right? Then if we got rejected from this zone, this is also another 30%, 33% to the downside. Also this one, right? So every time we do get rejected from the zone, there's a high probability that we can hold these long setups potentially for this whole move to the downside. Obviously, this is weeks down the line, so you'd have to have a tolerance to hold your positions for that long. But just be aware that we at this level here, okay? I'm just in the back of my mind, I'm just like, okay, we can potentially look for longs once structure has been broken for these tokens. So this is a good metric to look at, that because we know that this is at a key level, okay? So the chance of us getting some long setups is more probable than what it was yesterday, right? Because we were pumping into the zone, so it doesn't make sense to look for longs when USDT dominance is pumping, okay? So we're at resistance right now, very crucial for the bulls to start stepping in very soon here, okay? Then I want to speak about Ethereum quickly. Alright, so we all know that ETH broke that massive downtrend over here, right? So we all know that, okay? But what we can see for Ethereum, that potentially, we can get a bounce within today or tomorrow, is that we are in this bullish fair value gap that price hasn't tapped literally since July, okay? So we are in this zone over here, and this is on the daily time frame, okay? So this level here is a crucial zone, because if you bring it to the left, it has acted as support in the past, okay? Same thing, if you keep on coming to the left, you can see how price has been acting within this zone as support in the past. So there's a high probability that we could potentially get a bounce from the zone, okay, for Ethereum, okay? So the thing is, when we see this on these charts, okay, we see Ethereum potentially sitting in the bounce zone with USDT dominance looking like this. There's a good chance that we could get a potential move to the upside, right? I'm not saying that we are going to, right? But there is a good chance with all these things lining up, okay? So what needs to happen here for Ethereum is, okay, we are starting to make high highs here on the lower time frames. Right now, what I would want to see is, I'd want to start to see this break over here, okay? I'd want to see price start to get back above this point, okay? If we were to get back above this level, I'd be looking to long Ethereum back up to these highs over here, right? But the thing is, we need to start closing back above this level, okay? Because right now, if staying below here is just putting us back at risk of coming down low, right? So what I'm saying, like, I'm not actually bullish in terms of the market right now. I'm just saying I'm open to looking at some long setups just because of what USDT dominance is looking like, right? You know, I do trade with USDT dominance side by side most times as well. So it is a good metric to actually use. You know, when you trade the dollar, right, you would always put if you trade gold back in forex days, you would put the dollar next to it, and you would actually use it as like an inverse signal. This is kind of what I'm looking at, potentially just to take out like these highs over here, right? You could even just look for a small scalp trade just to take out these highs. So I do think that Ethereum could potentially come higher today. If we were to just break out of the zone. Okay, so right now just nothing really we can do here. I want to have a look at Bitcoin quickly. It's just going to be a quick update, and we spoke about this yesterday, right? We spoke about this level for Bitcoin, exact bounce zone over here. So basically for Bitcoin, what I'm looking at is we've come into this level here. This was a zone between 100k and 97k. Okay, this was the key zone. And looking at this level right now, the reason why it was the key zone is because this was the level. Have a look over here, right? This is your weekly bullish fair value gap over here. Weekly bullish fair value gap. It's also a daily bullish fair value gap as well. And it's also a massive support, right? You know, all these fair value gaps and stuff are just basically reaction zones, right? So with that said, you know, we try to take out this low over here. You know, this could easily flip bullish there, right? We've taken out this low over here. We didn't take out that low, but honestly, not looking too bad for Bitcoin here. You know, what I want to see happen is Bitcoin to get back above 109,300. Obviously, that's your Baker trend, and that's also pumping back above, you know, key levels, right? Because anywhere below there, it is still in bearish structure, right? So, you know, we have to start to see price start forming. You know, we did form a double bottom over here, but in terms of continuation, you know, we have to start taking out these highs to the upside over here, like 104. But yeah, that would have been quite a good long over here if you took the setup over here. But it's looking decent there. But for Bitcoin to actually be bullish, we have to get back above 109,300, right? That's a break of trend, also a break above that level. Okay. So it's going to be quite a critical day. Like we could potentially get a bounce today on some tokens, just looking at USD dominance. But just bear in mind, guys, that this is the weekly time frame. Okay, so we're taking in the space on the weekly. So just it's not going to be a day by day thing. You know, if you can actually use USD dominance intraday scalping, like where you can actually use the 50-minute time frame and then put it like the 15 or the 20 the 30 minutes for Bitcoin, and you know, trade the breakouts. But in terms of just looking at this structurally, this is this is telling me that we could potentially look for longs just based on what we've got over here, right? I'm not saying that I'm going along. I'm just saying we can potentially look for longs, and we open to it, right? So yeah, I mean, honestly, market right now is obviously they're very fearful, right? You know, we're sitting at below 20s. Low 20s and below 20 on the fear and greed index, and I think a lot of people just panic selling, and they're just scared of this current market. And honestly, personally, like, it doesn't really faze me too much, obviously. But in terms of when this pump is going to happen, I think that it is very near, just based on this chart here. Okay, so we'll see what happens. Obviously, this is, you know, it's not guaranteed or anything like that. But it is something interesting to look at right now for the market, because we don't really have, you know, that much buying pressure. But, you know, sitting at these levels over here is giving us a potential for people to come back into the market. But yeah, everything is kind of cooked. Even Solana, I was looking at that 171 zone, but yeah, we got that daily close below. That's why I didn't even look at it. But we are holding this bullish fair value gap over here for Solana at this level here at 152, okay, which is quite interesting. So I want to see how these candles close today, because, you know, it's still very bearish, the market right now. So we still need to see some type of structure change, but this is making me feel optimistic. Okay, so I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Let's see what happens today. I will be looking at some intraday scalps as well on the lower time frames, to see if we can maybe play some breakouts there if we do get that pump to the upside, or a potential move. For sells, we can look for continuation sells, but personally, I'm going to focus on potentially looking at some intraday longs just based on this chart over here. So we'll see what happens. I do appreciate you guys for joining and watching. Let's see if we can get a potential move today. And yeah, I hope everyone has a great day, and I'll see you guys later.